The Flogcast may occasionally contain explicit content that makes it not safe for work or for minors. It also doesn't provide an excuse to use the same words on Bay 13. Normal Big Footy rules still apply.
Alright, so this is the Flogcast for round 7. The emotionally checked out Tiger Starburns is here, and I'm joined by our professional dentist patient from Collingwood, Morgan Ashley.
Hello.
And joining us again is Bay 13's most popular potential Kiwi, Penal.
Well, it's not like there's much competition when, it's between me and Plugger.
Pretty much, yeah, you're Bay 13's favourite in that regard. Even if it wasn't for the umpire baiting, there's the music spam and everything else. So
90s reminiscent. These stories are too long. Get to the point.
Presumably we will get Dan when apparently he's cutting his toenails. It's his Monday evening routine, and we cannot break that.
I thought it was just an annual routine, just once a year.
Once a year? Well, yeah, on the 1st of May.
Yeah, 1st of May is Nails Day.
As soon as he's finished with that, I will hopefully have him on board.
You have to have pretty sharp, pretty good nails to play the piano.
Yeah, well, that's true. If you had big, long ones, they'd probably, if you push down, they might snap, or you might not get enough force coming through.
If you have those, really long, uncut, curly toenails, that would allow you to manipulate the pedals on the piano a little better, wouldn't it? So that's probably why he grows them.
I was very intrigued as to where you're going there when you said long and uncut, and I was thinking it's back to the Mr. Aaron Outtakes episode. But let's go to Goo or Tears from this week, and who wants to go first?
I got a bit of both. So I got some goo for Terry Antonis and Melbourne victory. There's nothing sweeter than beating Sydney FC. There's nothing sweeter than beating them at home in extra time. And the look on Graham Arnold's face was delicious. He's such a shit eater.
Next national coach too.
Yeah, great. So I'm going to hate the next national coach.
Very popular man.
Yeah, between him and Tim Cahill, I'm not fucking watching. And I've got tears for the process because all we've been told from the Philadelphia 76ers is we should trust the process. And yet the two-man team couldn't beat the team that has no one left today. And that dickhead Ben Simmons walked in with a fucking gold kangaroo necklace on, like he's an Australian. Please, mate.
Fucking, don't be saying that, cunt. He, at least unlike Kyrie, he plays for us.
When? He chose not to play for us.
Yeah, well,
he chose to not play.
He got to get paid.
He hadn't even been drafted yet. He was playing fucking D-League rather than that.
I know, but if he gets injured, he don't get paid.
Wah. He's always going to get paid. Give me a spell. Don't wear your gold kangaroo chain when you've got an American accent thicker than fucking anybody else in the league. I'm here for the real Australian players like Jingles and the Utah Jazz,
where they don't allow music,
but they do allow you to still be an Australian.
So that's the extent of your goo. You got a lot of other sport goo and tears and all that, but nothing else.
I don't think anything really that interesting happened on the weekend. I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't happy. I wasn't anything. It was just meh. We've got more praise this week for losing than we did for winning.
You're pretty brave.
Couple of weeks. Oh no thanks. So yeah, just like they say, it's never as good as they make it out to be, and it's never as bad. But I did appreciate Dimmer coming in to support his little mate Bucks and being like, Collingwood are the best team we've played all year. Spell.
Oh, the Crows fans did not like that.
Yeah, what a whack that is.
Penal, do you want to go next?
I feel like Cookie was probably going to take this one, but if he's not around, I'll go ahead and have some mixed goo and tears for the F1 on the weekend, which stayed up to watch on Sunday night, and I definitely almost getting ready to book a trip to Baku next year for the next race, because it's probably the only interesting one left. Caught the Australian one earlier the year, and it's just complete boring. But for some reason, Baku just always throws up something eventful.
Where is Baku?
It was Azerbaijan.
Oh, okay. It's an Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Okay.
Yeah, there's an Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and surprisingly, it's not even the most obscure one, because they have Bahrain, which is even smaller, and that as well. But it was absolutely brilliant and exciting. No doubt every Australian fan there was devastated to see Ricciardo crash into Verstappen again, and it was Verstappen's fault again because he's a fucking idiot. Basil Zemplis was particularly devastated because he couldn't make any jokes about Ricciardo on the weekend or on Sunrise or whatever he does. So my goose for the fact that it was a brilliant event. My tears are for Verstappen being an idiot and Bottas being the most unlucky person in the world every single time.
I'll go last with goo, and I think I have this goo at around about this time every year. But I'm going to go there again because it's 12 months on, and every year the NFL draft is fantastic viewing. The trades, the trolling, and it being in Dallas this year, everybody had a whack. Like when they come up to announce the picks, like I wish we had that sort of thing. Former players come up to announce a pick and actually engage in a little bit of banter, which is what happened with the Eagles kicker, taking the piss out of the Dallas fans that were all there. But it's just a really interesting event, and the fucking mess that comes out of it when players slide and trading of picks is insane, and I hope we do it in the AFL one day, but it'll never match. All of it was really good. Did you see any of it, Morgs?
Yeah, seen a lot of it. Absolutely loved it. Having walked on that hallowed turf late last year, it was really good to see.
Oh, Jerry World? You went to Jerry World?
Yeah. I went to Jerryland. Did you not know that?
No, I knew you went to America. I didn't know Jerryland was on the...
Yeah, so I was in Dallas for 3 nights. So I went on the Cowboy Stadium tour. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
You saw the big screen?
We got to sit down and watch on the big screen for a while, which was so cool. But yeah, the stadium itself is amazing. But if you had to play a drinking game and have a drink every time your tour guide said Jerry's name, you would be fucked. Like everything. Jerry. Anyway.
It's probably in their contract.
Yeah, you must. Everything's about Jerry. Jerry picked this, Jerry did this, Jerry did this. But we even went into the suite where he watches the game and stuff. Like, it was so sick.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But I was going to have a bit of goo also for Shakib getting picked up.
Oh yes. How good's that?
If ever there was a good story in sport, I think this could be one of the best to have made it as far as he has without only having one hand is just amazing. And I think he's incredible. So that's a great story.
Yeah, that is a great story. Did you see the tweet, though, that I think it was... who was it? It was Adam Schefter. He tweeted it today, and it was talking about Shaquille Griffin's number 1 fan. It was a girl with, like, one arm. And he tweeted a picture with a clapping emoji. The first response was, that's probably not the right emoji. He didn't have a good week if it was Schefter as well, because he announced the trade up for Lama Jackson. I'm trying to be first.
Lama
Jackson. I thought your Saints were going to draft him too after they traded up all those picks, and then they picked defensive end.
Yeah, but I think it's what we need.
Mm.
But
it's a big price to pay.
It is a big
thing, but reach.
But if ever we're in the window, it is now. Whilst Breeze is still Breeze, like the fall from when he goes will be hard. So we need to get the pieces we need for the puzzle straight away. And if that's what he brings, then I'm all for it.
I did also like the other thing, whilst staying on the draft, I did like is it took Baker Mayfield 1 day to be Clevelanded, if anyone saw him throw out the first pitch the next day.
No.
He went to the Indians game, and him and the other guy they drafted at Fort Ward, I think it was, each threw out the first pitch at the Indians game. And Mayfield made the catcher reach a fair way. You got the quarterback who can't can't throw the ball over the plate. 1 day after being drafted to Cleveland, you're just like, oh boy. Just, like, there's an omen for you. It's like drafting a key position player in the AFL who goes up and to collect his jersey from Gil McLaughlin, and he drops it.
He falls over.
He concusses himself.
Surprised McCartan didn't do that.
It's just one of those really bad omens that would probably happen to St Kilda.
Yeah, Carlton pick one this year, if anyone. Seems a likely chance.
I could go on about plenty of things from the draft about how interesting it was, but I think probably said enough.
the draft weekend is far superior than All-Star weekend.
Oh yeah.
In every aspect, and I think it is something we could definitely learn from. Whatever, let's just start the NFL season already.
Yeah, fuck it. It's one of those things that makes you want to see the start of the season come around. Really,
it just doesn't go long enough.
it's over. It is over so quickly. Like 16 weeks and 4 weeks of playoffs, is it? I think.
Yeah,
and all the games happen on the same day, basically. So it's like you don't even get the whole weekend thing that we get.
No, you don't get 3 days worth of it. You get one.
We are spoiled for choice in the AFL in that you can watch up to probably 6 games a weekend most weekends for 22 weeks if you are that keen on the game.
But currently, that causes people to complain because there's no good football to watch now.
Well, we'll come to that as we go into the games because there were 2 good games of football at the very least.
And they overlapped.
And they did. And they overlapped.
And you have to wait until Sunday afternoon for it.
Amazingly, Friday night Stinkfest got lost in that. Normally it would be a bigger deal, but I don't think anyone actually watched it.
Oh, there were just so many worse games that people just kind of forgot all about Friday night and just moved on to the easier targets.
We'll begin with the Derby because it was the closest of the games, I think. It was only 7 points or 8 points or something in the end, and you know, it was a fantastic game of football of the 1 quarter I saw of it after I got home. But do we see anything out of this?
I caught the ending, and it was just typical Fremantle fanfare, really. I think they were coming and just a bit like Ross Lyon at a Christmas party, just couldn't get the job done.
They looked like they were up for it, but they were up for the contest, but they couldn't just get the chocolates.
They had to settle for a loss.
Saw Nat Fyfe repeat his 2013 grand final efforts by shanking one from like 20 out directly in front at a crucial moment. Yeah, they probably should have won that game if they had a bit more class. Obviously, losing Walters, I think, very early didn't help. They just didn't have the polish. But according to Freo fans, it's all because Margetts and Dalglish were umpiring.
Can we discuss that? I'm sure it happens a lot, but the idea that these 2 umpires during the Derby rig every Derby. It's like when St Kilda had the knives out for was it Anthony Stevens? Was he the one they were after?
Oh, with the background from the grand final on Twitter out, and then that meant he was all on supporting.
The mental gymnastics around umpiring is one of the funnier things.
Pros fans with Penal.
Yes, Stevic and Hawthorn, as much as we like to make jokes about it, there's some people who are genuinely
mentally ill. Is probably the best way to put it.
Do we want to discuss the medal from that game?
Oh, what an embarrassment. What an absolute embarrassment.
So it's the idea that it ended up a tie.
Yeah, if that wasn't rigged, I will eat my own hat.
It's like they have to have the Glendenning medal awarded. It has to be awarded this one time, and there was the compromise made, which really shouldn't have been made, but whatever. And then yes, now 2 players get a medal. You may as well have given out the Glendenning medal to a West Coast player and told Freo you can have the Ross Lyon commemorative condom or something. Like, you're right, it was so rigged. Best comment was on AFL 360 about it, where Joe Waitley made the comment that considering on past form, it would have been hilarious if Glendenning just went, no, fuck this, I'm giving it to the West Coast player.
He should have pulled rank.
But, yeah, on that medal, we discussed it last week, but how embarrassing is it that West Coast have effectively caved on this, and now we're going to get a...
Ben Allen medal.
Well, Ben Allen, I don't think it should be. Like, there are so many better Fremantle candidates, like Clive or McManus.
Kepler.
Jack Anthony.
Des Headland.
Anybody. But... how did Paul Hazelby put Lockie Neal in the votes but not Shannon Hearn?
Bias?
No, I think that Paul Hazelby, it's his fault. I think that he wanted this to happen. And he wanted a tie, knowing that Hearn and Neal would get votes from the other 2 flogs. And he's gone, I'm just going to give him to Neal and leave Hearn out, and bingo, we got a tie.
So it's like that time KB voted on the Rising Star and gave Deledio 5 and Griffin none.
There should never be a tie. In the event of a tie, somebody should just come. Somebody, the person
Ross
who's
Glendinning
named
decides.
after Ross Glendinning decides, and they like. Well, we can't get like. Is there a Dick Pratt medal because he can't decide?
Shit.
Whatever. No, Norm Smith can't decide who it's Norm Smith. But you know what I mean. Like, so, all right, somebody has to be in charge of deciding.
Don't they, with the Norm Smith, do they do a count back for most number of threes?
Yes.
And then so why didn't they just do that?
Yeah.
What was that?
They both got a 3 each. Neil got a 3 and Hearn got a 3.
Yeah, so what are some good tie-break systems used around the world?
No, they should have had to like paper, scissors, rock or something.
Flip a coin like we do.
If they had a paper, scissors, rock, like I reckon that.
Or what about drawing rocks, like on Survivor?
Yeah,
and if,
drawing rocks.
And if someone drew the purple rock, fuck off, you lose the medal because purple's a shit colour. Sorry, Lockie Neal, you drew the purple rock, same as your shit jumper. Fuck off, no medal for you.
Yeah, drawing rocks is the best option.
I got nothing much else out of that game. Like, they shouldn't rename the medal Fremantle. When your club actually achieves something, then you can have a medal. Until then, your McLaren trophy, which you didn't get to keep, is not enough to get a medal named after anyone. But whatever. Especially when it's going to be Ben Owen. Like, fuck me. Being serious hat on, you have Pavlich.
Yes. And they're never going to name anything else after him. Like,
They've already named their BNF.
Is that what it's called?
No, it's the Doig or something named after, like, a waffle, one of the Fremantle club waffle
so
people.
why don't they just call it the Matthew Pavlich medal?
Yeah, the
Makes no
Pav.
sense.
It's just like, because, Pav's never going to have anything. It's like West Coast eventually named theirs after Worsfold, which I don't know about that in hindsight, but whereas some of the other clubs have held off till they get someone worth it. Giants went all in and named theirs after Sheedy, the dumb cunts. Giants! But that wasn't the smartest move, but, you know, Freo named theirs early, so now they've got a club champion, the best player they'll probably ever have. And it's like, they want to put Ben Allen on the medal.
Yeah, well, I guess
Stupid.
inaugural captain, like, fair enough, but surely you got to find room for Pav somewhere.
Yeah.
Even if it's like named the. I don't think they ported the Chris Mainwaring wing over to the new Optus Stadium, so I'm presuming there's a name free for a wing. So maybe Freo can get some sort of arrangement where for their home games they call it the Pavlich wing or the Pavlich stand or something like they do at Etihad.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a minor melt right now. You don't get to rename the fucking wings and the fucking ends. They're called what they're called, and you don't get to rename them. At Etihad, Essendon used to have like a Matthew Lloyd end. There's the Robert Flower wing. No,
What?
this is not. Melbourne have a Robert Flower wing.
Where?
At the G.
What, they put it on the screen? On the signage?
Yes?
He's got a terrace. It's a bar. I drink in it.
No, it's a Robert Flower wing.
They've already named something after him at the ground. That's silly. That's confusing.
But that's on the outside that you can see. You wouldn't be able to see the name of the bar on the outside.
True.
This is ridiculous. You don't get to name them. Like, at Etihad, they're called whatever they're called. Coventry and whatever. Lockett, are they not called that?
Coventry and Lockett, yeah, two leading goal kickers. Not Matthew Lloyd when Essendon play, not Footscray when the Dogs play. Like,
no, and it's the Punt Road end and the City end.
Mm-hmm.
We don't rename them, but
Members End and Southern Stand End.
Makes me sick. Makes me sick.
I'm pretty sure the worst one, though, is... I don't know if they do it anymore, but there was a period St Kilda home games that Eddie had. They used to have the Milne end.
No, they did not.
I'm sure of it, because he's the all-time leading goal kicker at that ground.
They didn't have permission, they just put it up.
Yeah, they did.
They just went ahead and did it.
First.
No, they didn't ask. They just went ahead and put the sign up. No, you're right. You don't change the ends.
No, that gives me a massive melt. Did they name the Mainwaring thing before or after?
I don't know.
I'm going to say after, but...
Like, admittedly, there are no wings named it. He had, like, there's the Doug Hawkins wing as it's been, like, colloquially known, but it doesn't have an official name. But if they were really keen on that sort of thing, when the AFL set it up, they should have taken the feedback of their 4 tenant clubs and said, you can each have a wing or an end. Give us your players. And then you might have ended up with Lockett for St Kilda and Carey for North and Hawkins for the Dogs and someone for Essendon on the wing. God, at least it wasn't the Herd wing. But, you know, that's what they could have done. But too late now. Ship sailed.
The Darren Buick win. Jason Johnson.
If all the wings are taken, then you can go for the Herd off-site injecting room. Deep in the bowels of the stadium.
The Herd Medical Centre.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, I hate the naming of wings.
Maybe they'll name the new hotel after Bomber Thompson. What they're doing on the site.
They could name the Remand Centre and the Bomber Thompson end.
They could name the new concourse to Richmond Station from the MCG after Jack Revolt.
Are they building a concourse?
Well, eventually when the Southern Stand goes in, the concourse will extend from the Southern Stand all the way to the platforms on Richmond Station, so you don't have to cross Brunton Avenue anymore. So that'll be the quickest getaway to Richmond Station, which clearly it should be the Jack Revolt concourse.
Yeah. I wonder if it's going to play Aboriginal music like the other week.
Oh, okay. I was at West Coast Carlton with Mancy and Reap, and we had a few beers, and we're walking towards that. I go, just be wary of this bridge. Because it plays like...
Because it talks.
It talks at you, and when it's dark and you've had a few, it catches you by surprise. You start looking around and who the fuck's there? It is when you don't have your wits completely about you, it is quite a bizarro experience. Because yeah, it's like Indigenous chanting on that bridge to Burrungma. It's just like, it sounds like a din of voices. You're like, what the fuck's going on?
It's so weird.
I hate walking across that bridge.
Yeah, it's spooky.
It is. It's legitimately. It's a spooky fucking bridge, and I hope they do it in Perth for Perth's bridge. They put some Basil's endless commentary.
That's like Ben Cousins on fucking run, cunt, fucking run. The cops are coming, run.
Oh fuck! I think it's time we moved on. We got a little bit off track, but there's not a lot to talk about amongst the games.
We got a little bit off track. We talked about an Aboriginal bridge.
What? Hang on. Has the bridge in Perth got a name?
Probably have to build it first before they can name it. Pretty sure they're not there yet.
They have to name it after Cuz. He's the first man to cross the river.
There we go. Matagarup Bridge. So presumably it probably will play Aboriginal music. And it's like 65 meters high, and people can climb it. Like the don't know how it works. If it's like the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and you have to like go up there as part of a tour or something, or if you can just sort of let your kids climb up the sides of it, fall into the river down below.
65 meters. That's not as high as Ben used to be.
I was going to ask if it's like the Sydney Harbour Bridge, 65 metres. Does that make it taller than the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and just short of the Westgate, or?
That was still the best banner.
Fact.
And he got fired. Let's go to the next closest game, which was Richmond-Collingwood, which was a game right until probably halfway through the last, when eventually the damn wall broke. But up till that point, Collingwood were very brave. Very brave.
Shut the fuck up.
You were pretty brave. You were the toughest team we've played all year.
We weren't brave. We were good. And then we went down 2 rotations, and...
That's pretty brave.
Well, the better team came out on top. No, it's not.
I'd say it's pretty brave.
It's not brave. Anyway.
I'll tell you who wasn't brave, Lyndon Dunn.
Oh, did he get a little bump? What a poor little soul.
You can't fucking do that. What sort of dumb cunt goes and tries to iron out a teenager? Like, look how physical look how physical I am. I'm going to go for the smallest guy on the other team.
Oh. There's a different set of rules for the young kids, is there? There was no different set of rules for when we ironed out Jack Watts when he was a teenager?
Well, that sort of destroyed his career, but the point being that...
It was dumb.
The players that roughed up Jack Watts were actually legitimate footballers, not like borderline...
It was Nick Maxwell.
Clogged. Oh, was it Nick Maxwell? I stand corrected.
No, I'll take that. Genuine footballer.
I think.
I thought it was Presty and fucking Heath Shaw.
Nick Maxwell was a part of it. Anyway, he wasn't the only one that did it. Old Captain Courageous Scott decided he'd do the same thing. Cost us 50 metres. Fucking knobhead.
I thought Penal was pretty good.
Thought he was not the best midfielder in his team. Correct.
That's true. That is true. He wasn't the best captain on the ground either. Just quiet.
He certainly wasn't.
Hodgson was fantastic. He was nearly my goo, but I went the NFL go.
No, you have to have your annual NFL draft goo.
Yeah, absolutely.
No. Look, I'm very much on Buckley's side. I always have been. But I don't see how you can ever bring in Jared Blair and Chris Mayne. I just don't get it.
When I saw those ins, I just went, thank you.
After last week when we discussed this when the podcast finished, you and I were left and we discussed what the potential ins could be. Neither of those two names fucking came up. And there's a reason for that. Because putting them in is literally tanking.
It's not literally tanking. It is a tactical misstep. It is acknowledging to a degree that, holy shit, the team that's good enough to beat Essendon will not compete with Richmond physically and fitness-wise. We better bring in these less capable footballers who might tackle a little bit better.
Would the 4-day break have had something to do with that selection? Like the...
Well, no, because
you
dropped someone. You rested Crocker, but you dropped someone, didn't you?
No, we rested Crocker and we rested Varco, and then Langdon came out sore.
Yeah,
so that's,
and you picked the first game.
But, and he didn't drop his colours at all, Flynn Appleby. I thought he was pretty good. Probably one of the better first games for a defender that I've seen. But he was good when he had to go, whatever, and wasn't overawed by Jack or anything like that. So I was happy with him. There's no excuse to bring in those two players. Not when you've got Fasolo kicking 4 goals. And I don't care how many times you think that defensive pressure is going to win you games. What's going to win you games against a team that kicks goals is somebody who kicks goals. And Fasolo kicks goals.
You don't have to remind Starburns that Fasolo kicks goals.
Yeah, Starburns knows all about.
Yeah, if we'd have lost because of Fasolo, I'd have been furious. But, yeah, like, the whole thing about Collingwood this year, up until that point, was backing yourself, and all of a sudden you come up against an opponent who clearly you're not favoured to, and you're going to have to work really hard to beat, and Buckley blinks at selection. I've seen it before. Hardwick used to do this sort of thing when Steve Morris would come back in. I think it happened last year when we played the Crows when they blew us out over there. It was the only game Morris played all year, but Hardwick brought him in. I was just like, you idiot. It's just like these things happen where a coach will see a team that it's almost like they're scared of them a little bit, or they're concerned about whether what they're doing will stack up, and they make one of these backward step calls, and you made 2 in 1 week, and they won't be there next week. Maine was putrid.
I thought they were both terrible.
That's a very team board thing to do. That's a very team board thing to do on selections. Because I see it all the time. Whenever you go and read a pre-match thread on the Hawthorn board, it's either the opposition has so many tall forwards, we need to play 3 tall defenders, or the opposition has no tall forwards, we need to play no tall defenders. And it's just inevitably the coach selects the best 22 and everyone goes into a meltdown. But you just got to back your structures in, back the players that get the job done week in, week out. And like Starburns said, not blink to the pressure of being intimidated by who the opposition has on the park. Just back your structures.
I think horses for courses works if you play a bigger or a small team, but it's very rare cases.
Not to such an extreme though.
No.
That's it. Like I say, it's a very team board, short-sighted way of looking at selection. If you just go, oh, we're up against this team, therefore we got to bring in da-da-da.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can guarantee you that there is absolutely nobody on the team board that was wanting those things. And
the craziest part about it is that Buckley does not rate Maine, as has been discussed. How he finds his way back in for a game this big.
Yeah, I hope to not see either of them again, and I don't care if we pay Maine out. I don't want to see him again. There's no reason for it. And if that's literally, if we are at the point where we have to play Jared Blair, then we're not in a contention anyway. So, fuck it.
Not too much out of this game. other than that, I thought, yeah, Collingwood were pretty brave to stay with us for as long as they did. In the end, it was just...
You're so patronising. You are so patronising.
No, it was a pretty good game. Like, we did what we normally do, 5-goal first half. I think it was 4 this week, and 11 or 12 in the second. That's wore them down. It took a lot longer than it's taken against everybody else, because they were Collingwood were with us. But at the end, the right players stood up. Cochin stood up all game. Dusty was off, but when the moment arrived, he finished that goal.
Oh, junk time, Dusty.
I think that wasn't quite junk time, but even Cochin's effort, when you probably could have got into it and that player slipped over and Cochin forced him to fuck the kick in the goal square. Nankervis' last quarter, where he'd been behind all day, but he clearly went past Grundy on the day and literally in the last quarter by playing it out. But
I don't think the shin helped, but that's all right.
I didn't know he had
just hope
the shin.
Yeah, just hope he can get up this week. I'm not sure about that, but...
Who are you playing?
Brisbane.
You won't need him.
But we don't have another ruck.
You ruck Cox and keep Chris Mayne in the side.
I think that ruck, maybe McClarty's been really good in the VFL, so maybe he comes in for his first game. But...
Just fucking do what GWS did and not play a ruckman and let Stephen Martin dominate but win the game anyway.
Yeah, because Orko doesn't get touches anymore.
Put Mayne in the ruck.
Pendlebury in the ruck.
Lyndon Dunn will be rubbing his hands together with glee at the thought of playing Brisbane. There'll be a lot of fucking young kids to bowl over off the ball.
Oh, do you mean that he didn't get suspended? Oh, I'm surprised he didn't get suspended for his huge hit on that poor innocent little boy.
Unprovoked vicious hit.
Unprovoked vicious attack.
Let's not forget what's being lost in all this, guys, is that Jack Higgins quit school to play footy. So brave.
Jack Higgins can't even write his own name, and it's Jack. But
maybe he can spell snags, so that's okay.
He can't spell his name. Snags.
That's probably how he signs his contract. Snags.
The guys behind me at the ground were just dickheads, like the typical outer standing dickheads, and then. Oh, Jack, you're a premiership hero, blah, 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 blah. Everyone was a premiership hero. And then I was like, mate, please, even Jared Blair's got a premiership. And then didn't hear from him again. I did. I said that to him, and he didn't make another noise.
Not even say it to him, just when Blair touches the ball, Blair, you're a premiership hero, don't even turn around, just like fucking, just do a passive-aggressive way. At
one stage, Ben Reid took a mark well outside 50 and everyone have a shot, and this guy's like, you're dreaming, Reid, you're dreaming, kicks it. And I'm like, keep dreaming, Reedy, keep dreaming. So, yeah, there was a bit of aggression. Someone tried to record me at the game. So I was, in the first quarter, I was standing because we only had enough seats for me, my mum, my auntie, and NL came with us. So I was standing with NL until the second quarter. And this guy, I'm the biggest stalker in the world. I know what it looks like when you record someone. I know what it looks like when you take sneaky photos. Like, I know. And this guy was recording me, and he did it twice. And after the second time, I had enough. I turned around and I go, don't fucking record me again. And him and his mate are like, what do you mean? What do you mean? We're not doing nothing. We're not doing nothing. I was like, please. And didn't take his phone out again for the rest of the game. I was like, well, obviously you were recording me, because why are you not taking your phone out now? So I checked like the Nuffy's page, and I didn't make it on there. I don't know what he did with that footage.
That's weird.
Shame he wasn't there to record me when Andrew and Shelley touched my teeth.
Let's get, one other thing I did want to mention about the game. Pre-match, that Nothing Else Matters thing's cringy as fuck.
I'll tell you what's not. Bandwagon cam.
I didn't see it. You just only heard what you said about it.
Did you see the tweet?
Yeah, I did see the tweet.
The tweets were very funny. Very funny. Bandwagon cam. Check it out.
Maybe they were filming you to put on bandwagon cam.
No, it was a Collingwood initiative, and the Richmond supporters were on bandwagon cam.
Maybe they thought you were a Richmond supporter, like me and Shelley thought you were Carlton.
Oh, I had a Collingwood jumper on.
That didn't seem to matter last week.
No, that was a neutral game. I only had a scarf on.
Yeah, no, I thought the Nothing Else Matters thing's cringy. They need to stop it.
Yeah,
get rid of the cheer squad. Get rid of the cheer squad banner. Just drop it. Everyone's trying this doesn't realise that most people who see Port Adelaide's thing go, nah, Like, nobody thinks Port's thing is good except Port supporters. Like, everybody else sees and goes, oh, we don't want to be like that. They're simple South Australians. If you have to put the lyrics on the fucking signage around the ground, that's, yeah.
Well, I didn't know the words to the song anyway, so I'm not singing it.
This stuff has no place in the game. Let's go to Penal's favourite result of the weekend, and it wasn't Hawthorn St Kilda. The choke ground, as it's now known. No Buddy, no Hannah's off doing cocaine or whatever, as we discussed last week. No problems. Oh, this was funny. So funny.
No, it wasn't. Geelong were my knockout tip.
Oh, you fucked up.
Yeah, not funny. I didn't laugh. Didn't laugh once.
I laughed a lot. No forward line, and couldn't kick a goal for a kick. The only goal they kicked in a half of football was not a goal. And yeah, they came out and rolled Geelong at the cheat ground.
No Buddy in the side. No Sam Reid, who's usually good for a goal or two a game. And you wonder,
at least provides a target.
Where are they going to get their goals from? And at, three-quarter time, 5 goals on the board. One of them was pretty dodgy. You're sort of thinking playing out as expected. But then
they'll probably win by 8.
Then the dream team got in the midfield, best midfield of all time, got rolled by a bunch of kids, really doing the damage in the forward line, and Josh Kennedy played a great captain's game.
12 consecutive centre clearances to the Swans to finish that game off.
That's what happens when you don't pick a ruckman and you pick a fucking Gumby instead.
Gumby. And the Swans unearthed a couple of no-namers played well. Luke Ronke played all right.
Luke Ronke, great keeper.
Yeah.
Showing how versatile the Kiwis are. They could just transition effortlessly at the age of, 38 or whatever, from being behind the sticks to kicking it through the big sticks.
But Brad Scott said he's the best footballers ahead of him, so it was pretty funny. The pretty poor form from the cheat ground crew to boo Gary Rowan at that one point where they did.
They didn't. Did they?
They did. He was lining up for goal and they booed him. I don't know what preceded it, but I think it's at a certain point you just got to go, no, we might disagree with the decision, but it's probably not a good time to boo.
There's been some feral behaviour from AFL fans this round, but I think that takes the cake.
It really does. It's but at the same time, I don't expect much different from the people of Shitole Stadium. Nothing would surprise me of that bunch.
They were probably just upset because that free Whopper or KFC, whatever it was, promotion got cancelled.
Yeah, they'll boo Gary Rowan, but if you barrack too hard at the MCG last year, they'll crack the sads.
They'll go full Catman.
That's very poor form to boo Gary Rowan.
Context is irrelevant in this situation.
Are they booing him because he's red?
Oh yeah, maybe they were. That's a good point.
Maybe they were the people that Dan went to school with.
the ones that forced him to move schools.
Yeah, that's why he's not coming on, because we've triggered him. It's like he's back at school again and he has to change. So he's changed podcasts. He's gone to the Mainboard podcast.
The North one.
Him and kangaroos forever.
Ranger buddies forever.
Rangers for life. They're plaiting each other's beards, red beards.
Anyway, honestly, Geelong are, I've said it every year for the Wolves. The first year I genuinely believed they would slide down the ladder, but every year I've said it since, waiting for one year I'll be right. Maybe it's this one. 3-3, could have been 2-4 if Gorn kicked straight.
It was an absolutely pitiful performance.
Yes.
How you can be up and get run over like that at home against a team of nobodies is disgusting. You cost me $200. I fucking hate you.
Come on, go harder. Like, Fasolo only cost me $35. You should be at least 7 times hungrier.
Yeah, well, trust me, I was
but you
furious.
were 7 times drunker, Starburns.
I didn't post once in that game day thread, but I posted fucking pathetic pieces of shit after the game. Not because they lost, but because I lost my money. I was furious. My brother texted me the next day. He goes, bet you're happy. I was like, go and get fucked. I was absolutely fuming.
Anyone from Geelong you want to single out?
Well, I didn't watch the game because I was at work, but I'll probably blame all of them. Fucking danger Flog. Cocksucker.
Danger Flog was actually one of the senior players who tried hard. It was Selwood and Hawkins who were fucking pitiful. Zach Toohey had about 25 super coach points for the day.
Oh, no.
They should have just moved him to another position like super coach and then moved him from D6 to D2 and he might be alright.
I didn't see it, but apparently I saw it mentioned that on the couch they highlighted Dangerfield's lack of defensive effort, and he just let Josh Kennedy run away from the stoppages with ease, and that was one of the main reasons why they had those centre clearances and ultimately won the game. So I think if you singled out anyone, it has to be P. Dangerfield. 3 votes for losing the game.
There we go, the unaccountable cats. Hawkins was very, very bad though. He was dropping marks like Mason Cox in round 1, and then when he finally clunked one, he fucking went back and missed it like Max Gorn.
They didn't have Menzel, did they?
No, I don't think Menzel played.
He'd pretty much be their most important player because, no one else can score for them, really.
Pretty much, and yet they dropped him for that qualifying final last year, which still makes me laugh. That's getting head fucked at selection, isn't it? Thinking at selection, dropping your second highest goal kicker for the year because he doesn't tackle enough.
Yeah, that's. Never mind getting influenced by a team board. That's like getting influenced by opposition poster trolls. And I know that thread wasn't around. The tackle watch thread wasn't around then, but you could just imagine Chris Scott kind of reading a fucking troll thread on the Bay about Dan Menzel and being like, "Oh shit, they're right. We got to drop this guy."
That was because that game was at the MCG. It's like, oh no, Menzel doesn't tackle on the MCG.
It's a big ground.
Big ground, oh shit. Yet Hawkins doesn't cover any ground, and on the big ground they didn't drop him. But games that don't matter, Tom, I think. Essendon, Melbourne. Essendon fell in a heap again. Danaher was pretty bad. Max Gorn kicked a couple of goals from angles, which was quite surprising, despite the abuse he cut from Craffles. Anything out of that?
Didn't watch this one.
I think what we're seeing is the real Essendon. This is what I expected at the start. When you don't get a soft draw from finishing bottom and your midfield lacks talent overall, when they're all one pace, this is what you end up with. Melbourne just exposed them badly. They are not good at football.
Imagine being exposed by Melbourne.
Yeah, imagine, going gets tough in Melbourne, roll you.
Was it like a string of goals to Melbourne after half-time or something? Usually that's happening to Melbourne.
Yeah.
So if Melbourne is piling on the goals against you, you got problems.
If Melbourne's turning the tables and being tougher and harder working and scoring in sprees against you, you have a problem.
Yeah.
Max Gorn's kicking straight against you. Melbourne's winning at Etihad against you.
Was Goddard as much of a flog this week, or has he pulled his head in?
I actually didn't notice whether Goddard was being a shit, but Danaher was very bad, though. He was that guy's going to win the worst player of the year, I think.
I was just watching the scores for that because I was at our game.
Yeah. Since you mentioned that you couldn't see, you only watched the scores because obviously there wasn't a watch. Do you remember back in the day when at a ground they actually put whatever other game was up on the screen if there was nothing else on?
Yeah.
Why do we not have that anymore?
Yeah.
Where did that go?
That's a good idea.
When did that stop happening? We on a Friday night they should put on the screen fucking old encounters. I went to a couple of Carlton games and they were showing the same fucking win over Collingwood each time. From I think it was when they started off that year when they won the first 3 and the goo was flowing. But, and Ratton got sacked at the end of it. It disappeared very quickly. But clearly there's nothing else to put on the screen, so why do we not get whatever other game is being played beamed onto the screens?
That must be a TV rights thing or something if they used to do that. Cause
I can see it in the MCC bar. I bet in any of the tabs in the ground you can see it. I was watching Melbourne Essendon in the bar. There would be areas around the ground that would have it on small screens. It's just not on the big ones. I don't understand why.
Bizarro.
You want fan engagement? There's your fucking fan engagement. Give them the games of football, especially if it's a decent one, like, say, Richmond versus Collingwood was before the Derby. Give them a good game to watch before fucking the teams come out.
Because it's not like pre-game entertainment's any good. It's all garbage.
No, it's all shit.
Apart from Bandwagon Cam, which was actually funny.
Yeah,
There's
you could
nothing
put that in the
in
quarter-time break or half-time break.
instead of Kiss Cam or fucking watch this wanker run against a fucking kangaroo or fucking whatever other bullshit they do. The only other funny one is the Hames Paint one where they take marks or knock themselves out, which happened the week before, where they take marks over Russell Robertson. That's very funny.
Most of the pre-match shit could be worked around. Because where are these curtain raisers we were promised?
Haven't seen one yet.
No, with the lack of warm-ups on the ground. Yeah, haven't seen one yet.
But I've also seen warming up, so...
Yeah, that didn't last long. Anyway, Carlton Dogs, pretty much an irrelevant game. I can't think of much out of this. Honestly, I turned it off after about the first quarter and went and watched a movie. And I do not feel I missed anything.
Oh, it was so fucking bad. Oh, it's been done to death. These teams shouldn't play on Friday night, but these teams should not play on Friday night. When you've waited all week, well, you haven't really waited all week. You waited 2 days. But when you waited 2 days for football and you get served up that piece of shit, fuck, it was awful. It was genuinely bad.
The reason people are, I guess, talking about the fixturing is because this was completely foreseeable. Like, how did people expect Carlton to be anything worthy of, 4 or 5 Friday night games and a bunch of other prime time slots? Just...
Like, Melbourne missed the finals by 0.5% and have no Friday nights. Say what you want about Melbourne, they would put in a better performance on Friday night, fucking Carlton.
It just beggars belief that someone could look at the fixture this round and go, okay, so this round we've got Carlton versus the Dogs, Geelong versus Sydney, West Coast versus Freo in the first derby at the new stadium. And so what are we going to pick for Friday night? Oh, yeah, Carlton versus the Dogs. A1 logic.
Eddie actually tried to justify it as well on Fox Footy in saying that, because of the Anzac grounds games had to be played on the Sunday and because of someone else off a 6-day break and blah, 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 or you got to get a 6-day break or not consecutive, that the only Victorian teams that could be put on were Carlton and Dogs. And my response to that is, well, you didn't give a fuck on the Friday night before when it was Crows versus Sydney. And it's just like, just give us anyone. Don't care if they're Victorian, just don't give us Carlton.
No. Well,
Why is that a thing?
I couldn't care less if I watched Adelaide and Gold Coast on the Friday night. It would have been fucking better than watching what we did.
Marginally, but yes, like,
well,
Geelong Sydney was the game.
They could have done that because, yeah, Sydney played the previous Friday and Geelong the previous Saturday, right? Like, I get, obviously, you're not going to put Collingwood Richmond on because that would have been, a 2-day break, but Geelong Sydney would have worked.
Yeah, but it's not like they couldn't have planned it out better. It's not like round 5 was set in stone.
No.
Fucking make sure that Carlton are not on in a primetime slot. No one wants to watch them.
You know what? They have all these fucking algorithms and shit for the fixture, but how much do you think they pay for the fixture to get it made? How much do you think it costs?
Millions.
Yeah, it costs millions. I reckon if you gave it to the likes of, say, Dan, Rain Man, he would get you someone like that.
He would whip up an Excel spreadsheet in about 3 hours at less than $50,000.
Correct, at what it would cost for one man.
$50. He would literally do it for $50, old dad man.
No, 100 MVP votes.
And a frozen Coles pizza to get it done.
But honestly, if you paid me, if it cost millions, I would do it for $100,000. I would, to be the fixture master. I would quit my job to be, and I think the same would go for the rest of you. Like Penal, for example, you could do it for New Zealand.
St Kilda. If I am in charge of the fixture, you're coming back to New Zealand next year.
Playing a home game against Hawthorn, yeah? Actually,
fucking Geelong, you're playing a home game against St Kilda in New Zealand. just just out of spite.
But, like, I reckon you could get one person to be the fully professional fixturer, and they would do a better job than the fucking computer's formula that they send to fucking Canada, which is what they do.
It's like the whole match review officials thing. Like, it's Michael Christian and him alone now to try and bring more transparency and accountability to the process. So they should do the same thing. Just make the fixture one guy in a room with a fucking spreadsheet or whatever, and that way he can be accountable and engage with the public, and it'd be refreshing to have that level of honesty when something does come up like this. And let's say maybe he does give Carlton, the spreadsheet works it out that Carlton get one Friday night, and then when that comes around the next year and Carlton are still inevitably crap, he can front up in the media and say, yeah, sorry guys, fair cop, got this one wrong, shouldn't have given it to Carlton. And then all the Carlton fans will go, oh, Big Four.
It's funny that we're talking about, like, spreadsheets, because, like, you could always just go, oh, I misplaced it, so I had to do a rough, it worked for Essendon, I had to do it on the fly, and just it's by accident Carlton ended up here. Like, that's an excuse I think you could probably get away with, because it's worked before.
You can cop the odd mistake, like Carlton getting one Friday night. I'm sure if it was only the one, we'd all live with it.
We would all live with that, yes, correct. We would live with one Friday night for each shit team except perhaps Brisbane, because no one gives a fuck. Like, watching Carlton lose on a Friday night once a year is funny. Twice, nah. You don't tell the joke twice.
Especially when we already fucking heard it 8 times in 2015.
Correct. That joke isn't funny anymore. Let's get off Carlton, dogs. The best part about this game is that entire discussion we had about the fucking fixture. Dan, write a letter. Another game that didn't matter. Hawthorn St Kilda. You got it done in Tassie in ugly circumstances, and St Kilda are very bad at football.
Yeah, I guess the main talking point out of this game is probably Tim Membry.
James Brayshaw's commentary sums that up. It is harder to miss that than it is to kick it.
Well, someone probably told him before the game, like, yeah, Tim Membry's good, but he's no Josh Bruce, and he wanted to prove that person wrong, so he replicated Josh Bruce's effort from the exact same round at the exact same ground last
Opposite
year.
end. That's the only difference.
Yes, good point.
What is it with St Kilda coming to Tassie and not fucking being able to kick straight? It's just like we're completely mentally checking out.
It's not a uniquely St Kilda problem, though. That said, kicking the ball into the post from 1 metre out does appear to be a uniquely St Kilda problem. But like even when we were, three-peating, every other game in Tassie was just this low-scoring shit-fest slog where, you'd have teams kick like 8-12 to 5-12 or something, and that'd be the final score. That said, most of those were weather affected, wind and rain, and apparently there was absolutely no wind down in Launceston, which is quite a rarity. So, like, maybe the players just expected there to be wind and compensated for it or something, and just because that was just shocking skills, especially from the Saints. Fortunately, a couple of players like Isaac Smith, stood out, and it was probably the class of Smith and Bruce that were the difference in the end.
You know who else stood out for all the wrong reasons? And I'm glad you're on this week, Penal. Daniel Howe.
Stood out for the wrong reasons, you say? Nice long goal from outside 50.
What about that little tumble he took underneath the high ball?
Ooh, I didn't see that. I'll have to go...
it's in the Squib of the Year thread.
Okay, I'll have to...
It's not pretty.
Okay. I see a thread here from Geelong Dynasty called Daniel Howe was about to take a mark. You won't believe what happened next. Okay, so I'm guessing I'll probably see a GIF in this thread. Ooh.
Duck and cover.
How can you defend that? Gee, you'd have to be backpedaling harder than Daniel Howe to try and defend him for that one.
I love how the St Kilda player actually is so confused by what happens. He just jumps over him and completely misses the ball. It's like, what the fuck? I was expecting the contact to stop me. It's like, what's happened? Nobody looks good out of this one.
I think that's just a bag it and move on. Yeah. It's like most things out of this game, you know, you just forget they happened and hope that they don't become a pattern.
Let's never speak of it again.
Speaking of unspeakable horrors, has anyone seen Ben Stratton's tattoo? We all know about the mullet.
No. Is it worse than Stringer's fucking lion?
No, it's nothing's that bad, but it is amusing. Like, I cracked up when I saw it. He's got the Michelin Man tattooed on his like forearm or bicep region.
Jesus.
And that's what an odd unit DJ Stratosphere is. The Stringer one's objectively worse, but it's just so random, and it's a small one, so it's not as obnoxiously floggy, but it's just so random. And yeah, weird unit.
Yeah, let's move on from this game. The Puffers skied over North in the end.
No, I've got nothing on this game. Yeah, I didn't see it. Wasn't there.
Look, North won in the 8, so Port beat them. Are we surprised? Same old story. Giants beat Brisbane. Not much out of this, except that they probably didn't do it convincingly enough, and that Dane Zorko is in a world of trouble at the moment.
I'm sure we'll play him into form next week.
He is not finding it. Like, you could run Pendlebury up against him, even at his unaccountable best, and Zorko wouldn't touch it at the way he's going at the moment.
You could play Chris Mayne on him and play
Joe
him into
Blair.
form.
And he wouldn't impact the contest. And the funniest part is the youngsters are coming along okay, but he's just no leadership from him.
Yeah. Well, apparently Hodgie's back in the mix. Hodgie will come back in next week. So is he doing a thing where he doesn't travel, or after he travelled last time and he was so bad, he's not allowed to leave the Gabba anymore.
When the Gabba went on, we'll see that he's shit. If he goes on the road, someone might actually be watching.
I think he travelled. He just was in the coach's box like a match day coach role.
Maybe he's hungover.
Sam Mitchell did that a few times last year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so it's just not the miles into the legs.
Yeah, go with the team, but stay in the coach's box.
Adelaide did it pretty easy against the Suns. Tom Lynch was very bad, but now he's out injured, so maybe that was a reason, but I got nothing on that.
I noticed Adelaide got another hamstring injury, and Tex Walker this time.
Yeah.
It's starting to all look a bit Essendon 2012-ish, because that is a lot of soft tissue injuries.
It takes it to 7 hamstrings. 7.
Although the reason they gave for Tex for his injury was apparently hamstring awareness.
So he's aware that he's got one?
Not tightness, not injury, but awareness. And being Tex, I could just imagine him like sitting there going, "Huh? I've got a hamstring?" Just like suddenly coming to grips with that for the first time, and the realization that he's got a hamstring is what's keeping him out.
So this is hamstring awareness week at the Crows. Is that what is it? We're going to wear hammers in their sock like Harry Taylor.
Hamstring awareness week.
They're going to do a public service announcement.
This may shock you, but you too have a hamstring. Every 10 minutes in Africa, someone realizes they have a hamstring.
You might not know that you have a hamstring until it goes snap. We do like to make the joke that South Australia is a couple of decades behind, but if they're only just aware of hamstrings now, maybe it's a bit longer.
They've only just got like basic medical equipment.
Jesus, wait till osteoitis pubis catches up.
They probably haven't worked out what the deal is with concussion. That's why Port keeps sending Hamish Hartlett out onto the ground.
He did his ACL, you jerk.
Well, at least he's saved from concussions.
Let's explain why Tex can't talk.
Did he do an ACL, or is he the victim of knee awareness?
That's what's next, ACL awareness.
ACL awareness. Oh, fuck.
Didn't expect any of that out of that particular nothing game, but I think that's a good note to move on to our talking points, and we will stay in West Horsham because the power puffer thing is not going away.
Can we please refer to him by the name that Caro did, which is Sam Powpecker?
Caro said that.
She didn't mean to, but on Footy Classifieds she called him Sam Powpecker.
I've seen that used. I've seen that used on Big Footy, which I think is just confirmation that she's been reading it for the hot takes.
That is one of the all-time great Freudian slips.
Oh fuck!
The first time she brought up this situation, she called him that.
That is brilliant. Look, this whole situation. How is Koshy threatening legal action and going all footy show and getting, like, puffing his chest out over this whole matter? Like, it's been confirmed he inappropriately touched her. He hasn't been not convicted in a sense in that he's not done nothing wrong. He's clearly downskirted or whatever the rumour is. So what's the big deal here? Like, and Koshy deflecting, saying the AFL punishing him is all, because of Lethlean and all that. Like, are we... What do we think of all this?
So I'm guessing what Koshy's complaining about is that there was no police complaint or involvement, and Port thought they dealt with it, and then the AFL have come over the top, and Koshy's not happy with that? Or
according to Port, that Powpepper's been basically slandered by Seven, and the AFL have suspended him and scapegoated him for ultimately far more than what he deserved. Like, they acknowledge that he did something wrong, but they clearly are debating over arguing against the 3 weeks that he's eventually got. They probably feel that 1 was sufficient for just for general embarrassment, whereas the AFL clearly think what he did was worse.
But they'd already left him out for 2, so...
Yeah, well, he withdrew himself for the second, didn't he? Supposedly.
The fact that he didn't have legal representation in his interview makes me uncomfortable. You should always have the right to representation.
So was this dictated by the AFL, or was he just too dumb to?
I believe it was dictated by the AFL. Everyone has a right to a defence. I don't know. It seems there's something bigger at play, and I, once again, don't know what it is. But the AFL are just an untrustworthy bunch of cunts.
I do feel that the way Koshy's come out, though, is very, very weird. There's defending your player, and then there's going to just weird extremes.
Yeah, and it's like he's trying to say something, but he can't say it, and so it's all just...
Yeah, and all he does is make it look worse.
Yeah. If they had have just left it and shut up, like, you can fight in private with the AFL. Yeah. You can do that as much as you like. You don't need to come out. Don't air your dirty laundry.
Playing the left-lean card is a very iffy move because fucking apparently the Gold Coast are out of the China deal as of next year, and Port are looking for a new suitor, which may be St Kilda, but...
Don't poke the hand that feeds you.
Yes, exactly. The AFL are the ones who are going to send a team there to play you and are going to sweeten the pie. Like, you don't do that if you care about that shit.
I'm an idiot. Did I just say don't poke the hand that feeds you?
Yes.
Yeah, you poking hands. Lucky that wasn't Dan, otherwise we'd go on about it for
hours. Very Sam Powell-Pecker of me.
On your Caro.
Anything else out of the Powell-Pecker thing?
No, so he's free to play this week? Or,
he's,
or did he play last week?
No, he was allowed to play a sample, but he's back in the AFL this week. He's had his 3 weeks, which, I don't know. That's what Nathan Broad got. So overall, it doesn't seem right, but there's clearly something in a lot of ways, potentially on both sides. There's something very sus here. Perhaps it's worse than Porter making it out to be, but at the same time, the AFL are screwing him a little bit without the legal representation because of that, or it's far too murky.
No, it's all a bit weird. I think the best thing that could happen for this situation and for Sam Powell-Pepper is for people to stop talking about it, and I don't think Port Adelaide did him any favours.
No, absolutely not. And honestly, this shit needs to play out with the Coppers.
Exactly right. And if somebody does something wrong to you and you feel like you've got a grievance with somebody, you take that to the police. You don't take it to their employer.
Unless you want some money.
Exactly right. And then it's not a Fremantle player, so maybe you're not getting any money.
And from that, we will segue to Fremantle and the AFL. The AFL are endorsing payoffs now. Like, it's very interesting.
I thought it was really strong by Colin Carter to come out and say that he thought this was exactly against everything that the AFL were meant to be doing, and that he was so surprised by Gillen's comments. I like it when Gillen and the Fold are held accountable by presidents and CEOs, chairman. I think it's a ridiculous comment that he made. Absolutely absurd.
Yeah, the press conference from Gillen, that was not his finest hour. He was stumbling and bumbling.
It's like the Mayor Quimby one. You put in the flames, superimpose the flames around him over that one, because
that was fucking President Bush saying you can't get fooled again. Level of bad. Mission
accomplished. I don't know. No, I do know what's worse. The way Fremantle have handled the entire Ross Lionstein saga is worse, but the way the AFL have openly endorsed the practice is just like, settlements are legitimate in a way, but the way McLaughlin said it for this sort of shit, you can't say that.
Yeah, it's fucking hush money. Is all these.
Yes, it's like there's a difference between a settlement and hush money, and this is clearly on the wrong side of it.
Yeah, well, when you have to impose a confidentiality clause in it, then there's questions that need to be asked. This person hasn't been able to work since. That's a long time to have not been able to have gainful employment.
Especially when the confidentiality clause is what the guilty party and Ross Lyon used to weasel around answering the questions when they were posed by Basil Zemplis on his weekly. Did we see this spot on Channel 7 News?
Is Basil fucking... Did he make Lyon sweat? Because if you're getting sort of intimidated by investigative journalist Basil, then just fucking grab a toaster and a bathtub and just eat it all.
Basil pushed him pretty fucking hard on this, the idea that are you the person in question? Because Lyon kept diverting back to the respect and responsibility clause or practice of the AFL protects the right to privacy of all parties involved, so I'm not going to discuss it. Like the snaky bastard is hid behind the fact that there is a privacy aspect to the respect and responsibility thing. He's hidden behind that.
Yeah, that's to protect the victim,
yes,
not the perpetrator.
I know, but he's such a shifty sort of behind your back move club sort of way that we're so used to with him. He has pivoted that to he doesn't have to answer the question, and it was just so unconvincing. It's just like, you've paid 50 to 80 grand is apparently the price tag for whatever it was that you did.
When somebody leaves and the reason for it is like something HR related, like this person would obviously have been paid out their benefits and so forth, but this is not their benefits. This was a separate payment due to the actions of
shut up and go away.
Mm.
Yeah, paying for their silence, basically.
Yeah.
Every time we seem to take a step forward as a league and as a group of people in the way we treat women, we just go and take another step back.
Yep.
And now that the league employs so many more women and has a whole league full of women, there has to come a time where we take a stand and say, you know what, enough's enough. We can't be paying hush money. We can't be treating people like this anymore.
No, like, hush money is
a Carlton 1990s thing.
It is. It's just like, we're talking about fucking what Carlton used to do and it was years ago and it was frowned upon, and all of a sudden we're back there.
Not just back there. We're back there and the league's endorsing it.
Yes.
At least then it was frowned upon.
Like, hush money overall, and it doesn't even have to be in a case like this, like, hush money was what Essendon paid the weapon in the end. It is part of his settlement. Shut up and don't tell the truth about, all the shit that went down.
Yeah, like, in some cases it makes sense. Like, even for the weapon thing, you can sort of justify it in a sense of, we don't want the weapon to go out and do a book deal or something. So there's some justification there. But in this case, it just seems to be a clear case of, we did the wrong thing, please don't tell anyone we did the wrong thing or Ross did the wrong thing because it'll make him look really bad. Thanks. And we won't allow justice to be served or whatever. Will just get in the way and obstruct with our little payment here. And I'm very surprised that the league can tick off on the handling of that. Very surprised.
Yeah, because if it's something that is cleared under, and this is the question that everybody's asked, so we're not first on this, but if it is, as everybody said, and Freo maintain, this was a very minor one-off issue that happened at a Christmas party and was nothing like it happened again, and et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Why such a hefty payout and silence clause? If there was no privacy clause and it was open and you said, he said this at the Christmas party once.
Yeah, if the full facts were out there in terms of what he said, how often he said it, and whether it was ongoing or not, and it turns out that it was just the one-off, and then I think most people would sort of go,
"You idiot, Ross," and move on.
You idiot, Ross, but the kind of having the payment there, that attracts further scrutiny and sort of makes you think what else was going on at that time between Ross and this person or other people for it to attract a payment and such a hefty one. It makes you want to dig further because just seeing that payment and the figures being reported makes you think there's something deeper here rather than just a one-line throwaway comment.
No, there's no way a comment could be worse than what the situation is now.
That's that too. But like, even if you air it in public, like fucking consider the Nathan Broad thing, consider the Power Pepper thing as things that have played out in public within a similar, they're not quite the same, but clearly they are more significant offences than a one-off comment would be. So if you consider it that way, and the Broad one has blown over, Power Pepper will eventually blow over too. If you let this one play its course, it would go away, and the only people who would still talk about it would be the flogs on day 13. The fact that you have to pay so much money to keep it silent says there's so much more going on here.
Even if there's not, it makes it look like an admission of further guilt. It's 90% optics, and the optics of this one are not good.
I can't see it being anything other than more than this. I get what you say about the optics and the look of it, but I know Freo have a bit of money, but to pay this says that, like, if you did the risk assessment on this, you would say that the price is too high. If someone came to you about this over a one-off, you would laugh them out of the fucking building.
Yeah.
He said, she said, nothing worse than a couple of words.
And now, because there's this payment attached, instead of this being something that gets aired, gets its news cycle, and is dealt with and forgotten about, like you mentioned with the broad one, it's something that's probably going to be continuously referred to and in the news cycle, certainly when Ross Lyon and Fremantle come up, just because of will we ever know what really happened with the hush money?
And just on that, the other thing about it is, if it was such a minor offence or minor act or whatever the fuck it is, Ross Lyon would not have weaseled his way out of answering the question Basil Zemp was posed to him with the loophole of that respects everyone's privacy. He'd have come out and he'd have said that's what it was, that's all it was.
Yeah, knowing Ross, he'd want to be like, honourable, make himself a martyr and go like, I did the wrong thing. Does that make sense?
But it's not ideal.
In this case, yeah.
Yeah, I think the most pertinent question though, which has been posed, is, does this come out of Freo's soft cap? The hush money?
Sure.
It's a football department.
Football department balance sheet, Penal section for hush money. Like, does every club probably used to have it?
Carlton didn't have it on their sheets. It just came in brown paper bags when they did it. Do we have anything else on Lionstein?
No, that's it.
Anything on Bomber Thompson?
Oh, Bomber. I think it's a bit sad now. Like, that's a lot of shit to be caught with. That's a hell of a lot of stuff.
I'll tell you what shits me though, the fact that Robbo was linking this back to the drug saga. It's like, no, you drunken buffoon. Everybody knew he was into this shit before.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, like, you only have to look at the fact that he used to live in Geelong, and there's your answer right there.
Blame the AFL all you want for the hush money endorsement, all this shit, but the drug saga thing is not, and the AFL's handling of it and all that shit is not the reason Bomber Thompson's in the mess that he's in now.
It was a long bow to draw the fucking AFL and the media being responsible for what happened to Hurd a couple of years ago, and it's an even longer bow here.
He's in real trouble, and it's crazy that it can happen in the situation that it did, because this is a guy who was in charge of a football club.
He was mentor and custodian of a number of young men, basically.
Someone you would expect to have their shit together a lot more than that. And just as a decline, that's far more stark than, say, a Ben Cousins. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing on that. I want to go back to settling, actually. How's the AFL settling with Katie Brennan? There's not quite hush money.
We will settle this with you if you agree to be silent about it and not take this to the Human Rights Commission. Sounds awfully similar.
It does sound awfully similar. It's a different type of hush money. But in this case, it is clearly about the optics, because there's no way they lose that battle.
No. But they don't want to be seen to be taking a marquee player.
They don't want the stress that comes with it. And it's just, it's so pathetic from her and the Dogs that they made it about this. And they wiped a week, which probably might have been wiped anyway, when they brought the rule in. Because they were clearly going to change the rule anyway. After the mess it caused, they were going to go, oh shit, we'll change it, it's going to go away. And everyone would have been happy. But the Dogs and Brenton had to bring up the Human Rights Commission like fucking attention whores. It reeks of Peter Gordon.
It absolutely does.
This never would have happened on the old Birdies watch.
No.
Yeah, that's just one thing. It is hush money, but it's a different type. Or it's a hush deal, but it's a different type of one. I don't like it. I don't know about anyone else.
No, it stinks.
Last of the talking points, let's discuss the Christian Petrarca infected finger, which I believe he got from sticking his finger in a Collingwood supporter's mouth.
Well, that'll teach him. This is just a bit ridiculous, isn't it? Why do Collingwood players, when they fake play with dogs, they don't get infections? So was he throwing a frisbee, or what was he doing to get bitten by his dog?
Maybe he's playing basketball again. You know, dunked it and then grazed it on a rusty ring.
He tried to set up his dog for the alley-oop, but instead of going for the ball, he got him instead.
He was handling Ben Simmons' gold chain, and it cut him. That's his mate, isn't it? It is pretty funny, though. Well, not funny, but the whole amputation discussion came up, the whole Daniel chick. You know, because it's his pointing finger. You wouldn't be able to be like Goddard.
Oh, if fucking that happened to Goddard, that'd be retire on the spot. Yeah.
He'd throw the towel in. Questions. First one's from Big Birds. Sort of asked already, but have any of the hosts had to move schools before? No, I did not. Morgs?
No, I never moved to schools, but I don't have red hair.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't have red hair either, so yeah, it's probably why. Penal?
No red hair, didn't have to move schools.
So I guess that's just Dan, after he was bullied. Next question is from Gornage. What was Craffle saying to Max Gorn over the fence?
Please, could you tell me how to grow a beard as nice as yours? Just not in those exact words. More like, I'm going to bend you over and get a razor and cut off all your fucking beard and stick it on my face because it looks amazing and I want your facial hair on my face. Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, I got nothing. Will you make me a coffee one day?
Oh, probably your coffee is nowhere near as good as Jab's coffee. I tried your coffee and it sucked. You should go to New York and learn how to become a barista.
Gorge also wanted to know, should the Essendon banner riders be red carded for injury trolling over the Petrarca thing? No, funniest thing they've done all year.
I mean, at some point there's probably a line, and as long as they didn't step over the line, like I'll be pretty nervous whenever they play Sydney in a couple of weeks. Hopefully they don't make a banner about Gary Rowan. So as long as you toe close to the line but don't step over it, yeah.
I don't have a problem with injury trolling.
we know that. I think that's all right banter. If he lost his finger, then you probably, how would Goddard like it, as we said? If your own players couldn't handle the injury, then... But I think, considering no one thought it was that bad...
Well, that would have been a reverse, a great counter banner from Melbourne. Like, if they'd made a sort of... Petrarca nearly lost his finger... It doesn't matter. He doesn't need to point like Goddard or something like that. I'm sure if you got Danny McGinley on the job, he could have made a brilliant rhyming banner to that effect.
Last one, K4A. Question for Morgs. Should Lyndon Dunn be Collingwood's new and accountable skipper?
Well, he's much more accountable than the one we currently have, so that's ridiculous. Ridiculous comment, K4A.
Pull your head in.
Pull your head in. No better. Get back on the fence.
Pull your red head in.
Your red head in. No. I don't know who would be our next captain. Maybe Darcy Moore, but he's got a bit of flog about him.
What about De Goey?
Oh, well, apparently he's getting big offers from St Kilda.
His name's Jordan. Have they checked that?
But he's naughty, so that's why they want him.
Yeah, well,
old naughty Geordie, they want a bit.
They probably
need to set Jared Blair on fire first.
Probably
please.
Obviously, all the media talk about St Kilda is that they're just too vanilla and boring. So, what better way to counteract that than by going after a fucking
bad boy?
Yeah, firebrand. I expect them to launch a multi-million-dollar offer for James Sicily while they're at it.
They need to get back to what they do best: winning off-season premierships. This week on the Bay, thread of the week. Okay, I'm going to start with this. An honourable mention. He's made a lot of shit threads this year. But from lethality, Lions AFL approved hush money payment, just another of his bad investments. And then the comment, there was hush money paid, but the age have the details now. Time for Fair to sack the sex predator and you can go live in a caravan in his parents' backyard again. I thought that was pretty good. What else we got?
Bosk's one about...
infraction points?
Yeah, forum... Love and peace and harmony. Yeah. Pretty gay thread title, Bosk, by the way. But good content.
Another honourable H2F thread. If you hired a team specifically to destroy a club in 5 years, would they be as effective as Carlton? Which was great, except for the spelling mistake of effective. It's effective, not affective.
Surely the founder of the Bay would know how to spell effective.
You'd think so. And another one which did not get enough love, from Always Born, Fremantle, every kid gets a trophy, Snowflake Generation, all the OP set was sad.
That was my favourite of the week.
It's only got the 2 likes, myself and Smeghead. I can't believe that. That needs more love.
I can't believe I didn't like it. I reckon I laughed for about half an hour. Hang on, I've got to find it. Where is
give
it?
it a bump whilst you're at it. Needs a good bump. Can we give that thread of the week?
Yeah. I'm all for it because Always Born, criminally underrated poster, does not get enough love.
No, it's got 4 likes now.
Another sneaky honourable mention to the thread on the main board from Impunity. Why is the Anzac TV logo so damn big? Have you seen that one?
I saw that one.
Anyway, Always Ballin' wins. Flog of the week, what have we got?
Oh, I had somebody, let me think. Oh, Natural Disaster. For giving me the lamest sig there's ever been. He's so fucking cut up. And all the Richmond idiots who think that Adam Chaw's girlfriend got paid by Channel 9. You're pathetic. Just pathetic. Troll him over the things he did and the things he said. Why do you need to bring his girlfriend up? And to think that that's still his girlfriend. If you're going to go into all these details, well, then you'd know that his girlfriend is a more elite sportsman than he'll ever be and has represented her country. You don't need to troll him over that. You idiot.
I don't know.
Oh, maybe this guy that keeps laughing in the background here.
Actually, can I give another honourable whilst we're at it for Thread of the Week to Zaka for Essendon and Collingwood are penalised for playing Anzac Day?
Yeah. I'd like to give Sig of the Week to Zaka.
What did he do?
He's got the signature of the week.
No, did you provide it?
Yep. Zaka provided a picture of his finger in an SFA thread. He's got a wart.
Oh, is it a wart finger thread, Sig?
Yeah. So. Where is it? I'll read it. Hang on. My wart is both bigger than my dick and bigger than the dicks of the 22 Essendon players who played on Anzac Day.
Good Sig.
I've got a flog of the week. It's an obscure one and it's not got anything to do with the Bay or footy in general. But Robert Lenton of Toorak, you know what you did.
What?
I'm calling this guy out for being an idiot because this banking royal commission thing seems to have exposed a couple of idiots, and this guy's written to the newspaper saying basically, won't somebody please think of the children, saying, oh no, those evil bad banks. And now because I'm a shareholder in the banks, am going to suffer. So you know what you did. You know what you're getting into. Don't go fucking crying poor now. You profited from years of fucking dodgy behaviour, and that's probably how you got your house in Toorak from in the first place. And so I've got no sympathy for you crying poor now. Robert Lenton of Toorak. And he's probably that Essendon supporter at the ground yelling at Max Gawn because that's exactly the sort of rabid frivolity I would expect from the sort of guy who writes letters to a fucking newspaper complaining about the Royal Commission.
More than a natural disaster, we have a winner.
I dribbled. Robert Lenton from Toorak. You're a flog. Have we got time for Morgs' recommendation of the week?
Where did you read this week?
My Uber Eats recommendation of the week. Literally, everyone's had one of those days where you're hungover or you're just feeling seedy and you want Chinese in the Collingwood area. Look, I'm getting a thumbs up from my manager right now who's listening. Rise Barbecue. What street's it on, Jay? No, Brunswick Street, Fitzroy. Rise Barbecue is the seediest, dirtiest Chinese restaurant, and they provide all the MSG goods you'll ever need. Like chicken satays are like $4. It's great. Value for money, seedy, Chinese, delicious. Rise Barbecue, R-I-Z-E. Look it up.
Get on it, Port fans.
Get on it. Also, I've got an app of the week. It's called Cash Show. You should play.
What?
There's a trivia game. It's called Cash Show.
And what does it do?
And you win cash every day. Like there's 2 shows, one at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and one at 9 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. And that cash cab guy, Curly, hosts it. And it's live and there's like a chat thing and you answer 12 questions and the first 6 are not for money and the last 6 are for money and there's $500 up for grabs. So you win like cents. And when you get to like $10, you can cash out to your PayPal account.
Okay.
And so myself, Bestie, Mardo, we go, all play Cash Show every day. And I'm now leading because I won $2.68 today.
You're a quarter of the way there.
Well, I've got $3 something now because I won last week too. So I'm nearly at my $10 cash out amount. So if anyone wants to play Cash Show, send me a PM and I'll send you a link and we'll both get a free live.
Mm-hmm. Dan, this is how you make your money.
Look, it's just a couple of cents at a time, but it all adds up, guys.
Yeah,
and I even got a shout out. I got a shout out from the host because he was wearing a leather jacket. So I wrote in the comment section, "Sick jacket," and he wrote back. And he's like, "No," he spoke to me like live because he's hosting it. And he's like, "Oh, Morgan, actually, sick name." So and Grug got a mention too, but I was first. But like 5,000 people play at a time. It's good.
I had a friend once who did that in like a fucking online poker deal, like where you got those real life dealers in some fucking country that has really lax gambling laws, like Bangladesh or something. And I had a mate who would just go on there and go through blackjack and poker with like a couple $100 or something to just basically mess with the dealers and try and flirt with them.
Next week's games, and who's going to tip these?
Penal, because I did last week.
Okay, Penal can be our tipper, and we have a Friday night game that should deliver. Cats versus Giants at the cheat ground.
I don't trust the Giants on the road. I'm going to go with the Cats to bounce back.
Dogs versus Suns at Mars Stadium, Ballarat.
Easy, no Tom Lynch, no Suns. Dogs to win easily.
The line in the sand game, Essendon versus Hawthorn.
Part of me would not be surprised if Essendon, after the week they've had, copying it from all sides in the media, would not be surprised if they beat us and then lose to Carlton, because that's just that sort of year. But really, we should be winning this comfortably because they're a rabble.
Eagles versus Puffers.
Ooh. Tough game. West Coast are in the top 8, top 4 in fact.
Second.
So I'll back them to get the job done at home.
Colas versus North.
Ooh. North, real shout in this one. Yeah, but yeah, you back Sydney, I think.
They're going to be without Buddy and Hanbury again, apparently. They're into week 2 of their bender.
Yeah, so how many more weeks on the strike ban? We reckon?
I think that's 11. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the Dane Beams precedent. But he always comes back quick from the quad strikes, though. It's been 6 weeks, 4 weeks.
He's got this interesting heel injury from Optus Stadium that only just appeared last week. Funny that.
Yeah, it only just conveniently appeared because people were talking about the stadium because of other injuries, and it just quickly blame it on that to avoid people asking too many questions. Yeah, it's all about the optics with Buddy.
Buddy optics, just like Buddy meters.
Can't say cocaine ban, gotta say mental health. All about the optics.
Crowbots versus Carlton.
Oh, fuck me. Crows by how much is the question.
And this is the it's the showpiece game in Hamstring Awareness Week because Carlton love their free hams.
Ah, yes, the Saturday night primetime blockbuster. Didn't realise we were fucking broadcasting murders on live TV.
Yeah. Richmond versus Freo at the MCG, and the last 2 times this has happened, it's ended basically the same way.
Ooh, nah, you can't tip against Richmond. They're going to drop a game at some point, but they're looking bloody good. Best side in the comp, so you got to go Richmond.
God, Saints versus Melbourne.
Ooh, is it Etihad or the G?
Etihad.
Ooh.
Makes it very interesting.
I think Melbourne have ended their Etihad curse and their St Kilda losing streak, right? They're slowly getting over all their curses and winning streaks. So yeah, back Melbourne. They should be the better team.
And finally, Bryans versus Collingwood.
Bryans. No, Collingwood.
Are you serious?
No, he corrected himself.
It sort of came out, but I wasn't thinking straight clearly because nobody has any reason to go for the Bryans in this one.
No, there is no reason to pick the Bryans. God, when are the Bryans and fucking Carlton going to win a game? This could go on for a long time.
When do they play each other?
Yeah, I was wondering that. Like, because I can't see them winning a game. Well, Carlton play Essendon the week after this. There's a sneaky chance. And the Bryans play the Dogs. It could only last till next week.
Yeah, those mid-table sides like Essendon, Melbourne, St Kilda, probably the most likely. Or maybe if they catch a top team in the middle of a heavy training block.
Round 16.
Is that the
Bryans Carlton?
Yeah.
Honestly, I would not be surprised though to see Brian's role lessened on current form. They're showing a little bit more at the moment. Anyway, this was the forecast for round 7. Starburns joined by Morgs.
Adios, amigos.
And Penal.
See us.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next week.